Hello, everybody. Welcome to our ExxonMobil webinar. My name is Samantha. I am in client services here at the Retirement Group, and I moderate these webinars. I will be monitoring your questions throughout this presentation and feeding them back to our advisor after he is finished speaking. Today, our advisor is Tyson Mavar, and he's going to be speaking to ExxonMobil employees and talking about giving some insight on how to optimize your pension benefit and when may be the best time to retire given current interest rates. I would just like to remind you before I bring Tyson on that although we work very closely with ExxonMobil employees, both active and retired, we are not endorsed nor affiliated whatsoever by ExxonMobil. The Retirement Group is a completely independent group of financial advisors, so please keep that in mind. And with that, I'd like to just introduce you to our advisor today, Tyson Mavar. Hi, Tyson.
Hi, Sam. Thank you for attending today's webinar series, everyone. My name is Tyson Mavar. I'm one of the ExxonMobil focused retirement advisors for the Retirement Group here in Texas. Now, in today's webinar series, we're going to cover very relevant issues about the ExxonMobil pension plan, not just the benefit payout options, but some timing issues and interest rates that affect the lump sum for ExxonMobil. Those of you who aren't as familiar with our company, the Retirement Group is an independent financial consulting group. We've been in business a little over 30 years working with corporate employees. ExxonMobil happens to be one of the companies that I specialize in helping people from and have many clients from. And our hope is whether or not you decide to become a client of ours after you leave ExxonMobil, that we can communicate some helpful information that will help you put together a more sound and successful retirement strategy. In addition to these webinars, we have a retirement cash flow analysis that we offer to all ExxonMobil employees, completely complimentary. Usually takes about 15 minutes to gather the information we need for that, and usually about 30 minutes to an hour to cover the analysis. We also are happy to update that for you as you approach retirement in hopes that you might consider doing some business with us when you retire, but also in hopes that you might help us grow our business by referring us to some of your coworkers if you found that exercise to be a valuable investment in your time. So please take advantage of this if you haven't done so already, or if it's been some time since we've updated your plan, let us know so we can update that with the most recent interest rates and the most recent tax laws and rules that affect retirement accounts. Now, for most of our clients that retire from ExxonMobil, there's going to be three primary pools of resources. It's going to be the pension plan, which we'll talk about in detail today, the 401k or savings plan through Voya, and Social Security benefits that have some options and some important considerations. We have an entire webinar series on Social Security decisions and claiming strategies. Today, we're going to talk about the pension, and this is where, for a lot of our clients, the majority of their retirement resources exist in this pension plan. Now, this pension can be taken in a variety of different forms that we'll talk about today, but it's critical, at least in our opinion, that you spend some time learning about your pension, understanding the merits of the different options well in advance of leaving the company so that you don't have regret with whatever decision you take on this plan, because it is irrevocable. You want to make sure that you've spent some time on this decision. Now, the various payout options, lump sum is very popular, which is a function of interest rates and your life expectancy. The lump sums have come down quite a bit in this last year as rates have come up quite a bit this last really 2 years, actually. There's a variety of other options other than the lump sum, various annuity options. They have a single life annuity, which is payable for your life only, you the employee. They have a variety of joint and survivor options, which are a lifetime paycheck for two individuals. Typically, it's the employee and their spouse, but not always. There's a period certain option and various forms of this period certain where it's similar to the single life annuity with an additional potential benefit if you pass away in a certain period of time after you leave the company, 10, 15, or 20 years. In fact, the single life annuity actually has a 5-year certain attached to it. They call it a life with 5-year certain if you look at your pension projections, which means that they'll pay you for the rest of your life, but they'll also pay your beneficiary if you pass away within the 5 years. Or you could take one of these extended period certain options that is similar to term life insurance. If you pass away within that term, there's benefits payable to your beneficiaries, as well as benefits payable to you regardless of how long you live. So depending on your circumstances, we like to look at life expectancy. We want to understand your health concerns, whether or not you've had health issues in your past, longevity in your family. We want to understand about your risk tolerance and risk capacity. We want to understand about other resources you have available. And when we build this retirement plan, we look at various different options so that we can evaluate the merits of all the different options given your circumstances. And while things change over time, you may have committed to taking the lump sum now, but by the time you retire, you may be singing a different tune or having different values to where that option could change. So our best advice is to keep an open mind. Just do your due diligence to understand these various options so that you and your family can choose the best one for you and your family, depending on your different circumstances. Now, if you leave the company prior to becoming a retiree, or in other words, you do not have at least 55 years old with 15 years of service, you leave the company as what they call a terminee. And traditionally, the terminees did not have a lump sum option. Within the last 3 years, however, ExxonMobil has offered lump sums to terminees just in a very specific way. You don't have the flexibility to choose your benefit commencement date if you're a terminee, and it's typically going to be 90 days after your last day with the company. Seen a lot of this with our clients that are leaving the company on performance improvement plans or pay in lieu situations. And if you don't have your 55 years of age with 15 years of service, then you're going to have less flexibility on how you take your pension, but still a lump sum option, fortunately for those that are attracted to that payout method. There's also various interest rates that are used to calculate your lump sum depending on how long you have with the company. We'll talk a little bit about the grandfathering rules in a moment. Now, the pension formula, we think it's important to understand so that you can pick the best time to retire. And so you can make good decisions throughout your career about the different types of jobs you take, because a big portion of this formula is your final average pay, or FAP, in our condensed formula here. Final average pay is going to be the highest 36 consecutive months of pay in the last 10 years. So what they're doing is finding an average annual salary to plug into this formula. And for a lot of people, that's their last or most recent years with the company, but not everyone, especially if there was some overseas assignments that you might want to be considerate of when you're picking your best retirement date to maximize your pension. There's also a Social Security offset portion of this formula wherein the company is going to reduce your pension by a certain percentage of your projected age 62 Social Security benefit. The reason this is important, there's actually several reasons. One is that if you work past age 62, your projected Social Security benefit is going to increase, because as many of you know, if you defer Social Security past age 62, your benefit is increased. So too does the Social Security offset, which is going to further decrease your pension benefit, because they'll use either the age 62 Social Security benefit or the Social Security benefit projected for the time that you leave the company. In other words, if you leave the company at age 66, your Social Security offset portion of your pension formula is going to be your projected age 66 benefit. This is one of several reasons that people start to see their lump sum starting to taper off as they get into their 60s. Part of it has to do with Social Security. Another reason that happens is because there's a life expectancy component to your lump sum projection. And the higher your age, the lower your life expectancy, the less the company has to give you as a lump sum. The other reason it's important to understand the Social Security offset portion of this formula is because sometimes the company projects your Social Security benefit incorrectly. And in some cases, it's not going to be in your favor. It's actually going to produce a lower pension payout. But if you can identify this and then prove it to the company, they will correct the mistake, and in some cases, increasing your pension payout. If you identify that they are incorrectly projecting your Social Security benefit in your favor, we probably would not want to tell them about that and keep the higher benefit payout because they will also reduce your pension if they got it wrong in the other direction. So let us know if you need help making this evaluation. We just need to look at the Social Security offset projected in your pension benefit projection. And then we use that with your Social Security statement to see if you have an argument to be made to turn in your Social Security statement and potentially get a higher pension payout, both on the lump sum and the annuity. Now, normal retirement age is going to be age 65 on the ExxonMobil pension. This is significant primarily because that is where there is no more age penalties, even for a terminee. In other words, you could defer your pension annuity as a terminee until age 65 and maximize this payout. Now, if you retire as a retiree, 55 with 15 years of service or more, your age penalties actually go away at age 60. Which means you could even leave at age 55, wait until age 60 to take your pension. You get a 100% payout. You do not have any age penalties. Age 55 is also relevant as a normal retirement age because that is the latest day you can defer your pension election to. The exception to that is if you retire from the company on or after your 65th birthday, you can defer your pension election up to a year, even though you've already reached normal retirement age. Now, the reason this is relevant is because in some cases, we might want to defer the election of our pension because we still have age penalties. We'll see our pension growing the longer we wait to take it. And that could be an argument to be made for that. We also have a bit of a crystal ball wherein we know what direction interest rates are going and may want to wait to take our pension in an effort to produce a higher lump sum payout because we see interest rates are going down. That's been the case with many of my clients in the past, where we take their benefit election decision on a quarter by quarter basis. We are considering this, looking at the interest rates, evaluating the age penalties, and then also looking at alternatives of what they could be able to invest that money in a safe environment outside of the pension, or what I call the opportunity cost of leaving the money in the pension. Now that interest rates are higher, of course, lump sum payouts are lower, but fixed income investments like CDs, bonds, even money markets are paying substantially more interest than they were 2 years ago. So the opportunity cost of leaving the money in the plan is higher than it was a couple of years ago because interest rates on low risk investments are also higher. This is one of the reasons we think it's important to work with a specialist on these decisions, or not only a retirement specialist, but somebody that understands the ExxonMobil benefits so you can get the timing perfect, so that you don't make any mistakes on your paperwork when you submit your pension forms, so you are making good decisions related to your healthcare options in retirement, so that you're making a tax-informed decision on how you're distributing the assets. All these things are important, and small mistakes can be very, very costly. So spend some time with us, and always get a second opinion. It never hurts to get 2, 3, maybe even 4 opinions from different advisory firms. Then you'll have a better opportunity to develop a relationship and make sure it's a good fit with whoever you choose to work with in retirement. Now, there's age penalties, and the pension can be taken even sooner than age 55 if you are on disability or you enter into a disability retirement. And you can see here that the age penalties are even more extensive if you take it as early as age 50, for instance, in the situation of disability retirement. Oftentimes, we will encourage our clients not to take their pension right away if they're on disability because it could potentially reduce the amount of their disability payout. Although there is some other considerations there about how quickly you're getting your money, both on the annuity and lump sum side with your pension. Just know that you can take the pension prior to age 55 if you are on a disability retirement. I'm going to zoom into our interest rate table here. As many of you know, higher interest rates produce lower lump sum payouts, and we've seen rates climb quite a bit in this last couple of years. At the top of this table, we're looking at the June and May 2023 interest rates, which are blended together to create the fourth quarter retirement commencement lump sum interest rates. You can see here the averages. We look at the first segment, second segment, and third segment. Those are the averages of what are the fourth and fifth month prior to the beginning of the fourth quarter. So that's how they do the look back period. It's the fourth and fifth month prior to the quarter you commence your benefit. They take the averages and it calculates a lump sum. It's also important to know that this second segment rate carries the most weight in the calculation. And that is the one we pay the closest attention to. We could see first segment rates going up, but second segment rates going down. And we would likely predict that your lump sum would be going up just because the second segment rate carries more weight in the calculation. For reference, it's actually 3 times heavier weighting than the first segment rate in this calculation. Now that's for non-grandfathered employees. So XTO employees or anybody that did not have 55 and 15 year criteria met by 2012. You're not grandfathered and you'll be using these 3 corporate bond interest rates. Now, if you were 55 with 15 in 2012, you're grandfathered and you use the treasury interest rates, which are quite a bit lower and produce higher lump sums. That's the benefit of being grandfathered. There's also some different timing rules. If you're grandfathered, you can commence your benefit the day after your retirement, whereas grandfathered individuals have to commence their benefit on the first day of the month, and it creates some problems with regards to watching interest rates, and it's just not as flexible for non-grandfathered employees. But the main thing to remember here is higher interest rates create lower lump sum payouts, and you can also toggle interest rates in your benefit projections on the pension modeler and the benefit website. If you're not sure where to find that pension modeler, let us know. There's 2 ways to do it. You could go internally through the EDA website, which you don't even need a PIN number to get through there. Or if you don't have a company computer, or if you just want to do it from home, you can do it externally through the ExxonMobil.com/benefits, where you will need to register and create a PIN number. And then you can model different retirement dates, different interest rate assumptions. You look at all the different payout options. And this is critical, in our opinion, in putting together your retirement plan, being ready for various circumstances. And in my experience, I would say probably less than 1 out of 10 people actually retire on the day they expected to. It's very common for people to change their retirement dates based on health issues, based on issues with the company, based on other job opportunities, based on interest rates changing and wanting to leave the company, or these recent performance improvement plans also having people retire on different dates than they expected. So keep a dynamic plan, get prepared for a retirement date that might not be necessarily aligned with what you originally planned for. And we do it through that cash flow analysis. So let us know if you have interest in running that plan. Unfortunately, we've seen statistically 74% of Americans over the age of 50 don't have a written plan for their retirement. And this is just not acceptable in our opinion, given how important these decisions are, how much of an impact they will have on your future livelihood. Spend some time with us, or at least somebody that understands the ExxonMobil benefit plans and the retirement process, so you can get ready for one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your life, not only when to leave the company, but how to take your pension and how to transition these assets into a paycheck once the paychecks stop from ExxonMobil. If you'd like to spend some time with us, you can call us at the home office at 800-900-5867. You can email us at info@theretirementgroup.com, any questions that you might have, or to schedule a meeting. And then we also have some QR codes here, one of which will get you onto mine or one of my colleagues who understands the ExxonMobil benefits plans calendars, to spend some time to either put some numbers together or just talk about your situation, see if we can add some value. And then we also have a LinkedIn page where we produce these webinars and publish them so that you can watch them at your own leisure, going over a variety of different topics, many of which are specific to the ExxonMobil plans, some of which are just generic retirement income planning that we thought would be valuable to share with you. With that, we're going to wrap it up, but I do believe we have some time for questions. So Sam, I'm going to pass it back to you if we did have any questions come up, and we'll see if we can go through them on today's webinar.
Yes, Tyson. Quite a few questions. We'll try to get through all of them. The first one, I'm on the verge of retirement and I'm weighing my options. Considering the current rates, would the ExxonMobil annuity be more beneficial, or should I opt for the lump sum and then purchase a separate annuity?
Yeah, good question. Possibly. This is something that we would need a lot more information to shed some light on. Typically, when you take your pension as a lump sum and go out and purchase your own annuity from an insurance company, is how that works. You're typically not going to get as much immediate income. The lifetime payout for single and usually a joint is going to be a little bit less. However, there could be some advantages other than just purely monthly income, such as cash refund or death benefit, flexibility that the ExxonMobil pension annuity did not offer, inflation hedge, different joint payouts for a spouse. There's a lot of reasons you might consider a private annuity, one that's different than the ExxonMobil pension. But we need to know a lot more information about your big picture, your situation, the age of both you and your spouse, if you're married. Your risk tolerance is a more important factor on that decision. And I would encourage you to have us run a cash flow analysis to shed more light on that. But you're right, the higher interest rates have produced lower lump sum payouts, but the silver lining on that is that now you can invest money in a safe environment and produce higher yields than you were able to 2 years ago. So given certain life expectancy, it could be a wash given these higher interest rates. Great question, though. Thanks for asking it. And again, I encourage you to call our office to speak with one of our specialists.
Thank you, Tyson. Number 2, my Social Security offset in the Exxon pension calculation seems to be on the lower side. Is this going to have a negative impact on the final pension amount I receive?
Yeah, good question. If they are projecting your Social Security benefit to be low compared to what you believe it will be, this is a benefit to you because they're offsetting or reducing your pension by a smaller number. So if we looked over that, reviewed that, and identified that that was in fact the case, I would not, as your financial advisor, recommend submitting your statement, because if you did, it's possible you could actually produce a lower both lump sum and annuity payout on your pension. And so we'll just keep that from the company if we could.
Got it. Number 3, being a long-term employee, I've been told I'm grandfathered in certain policies. How does this status influence my lump sum, especially concerning the prevailing interest rates?
Yeah, good question. So we talked about those corporate bond interest rates versus the Treasury, 30-year Treasury interest rates. You're on the 30-year Treasury. That's a lower interest rate, which means that you get a higher lump sum than somebody with the exact same statistics as you in terms of age, years worked, pay, purely because of being grandfathered into this lower rate. The fourth quarter interest rate is 3.5%. The way that one works is that they take the average of two quarters prior, or what is technically the 4th, 5th, and 6th month prior to your commencement quarter. And they also round to the nearest quarter point, or quarter percentage point. So it's 3.5 now. It did not change from 3rd to 4th quarter, but those rates are quite a bit higher than they were even just a year ago, certainly a year and a half ago. So while your lump sum has probably gone down, all things held equal, if you're still working at the company, that's improving all of your benefit options on your pension. But just like with the non-grandfathered employees, we'd recommend watching these interest rates closely and even considering retirement, especially as you get close to your ideal retirement age. Maybe consider a different retirement date based on what the rates are doing if you are planning to take any portion of your pension as a lump sum. Now, it's not all or nothing at ExxonMobil. It hasn't been for about 8 years. In other words, you can take partial lump sum with a partial annuity, which is kind of nice, especially for those that want to have a guaranteed income stream, or what we call an income floor of a certain dollar amount. You add up your Social Security benefit plus some function of the partial annuity. And let's say, for example, you wanted to make sure you had $60,000 a year of gross income coming into your household for the rest of your life. Keep in mind that the ExxonMobil pension is not adjusted for cost of living. So that's going to be the same amount in 20 years as it was when you retired, which means you can buy less with that if we have positive inflation, which we almost always do in the United States. That needs to be considered as a part of that assessment. But if you wanted to build an income floor, you could do that pretty well with the partial annuity option on the pension plan. So all these things are very relevant talking points with your advisor, whether it's us or somebody else. And we've got to start with that cash flow analysis so we can start to identify what's a great retirement plan for you and your family, given your circumstances.
Thank you. I think we have time for two more. If I decide not to take the lump sum immediately post-retirement, do I get the flexibility to opt for a future quarter's interest rate, or do I get locked into the rate of the next quarter?
Great question. You do have the flexibility to defer the election of your pension, which will modify what interest rate they are giving you, which, as you can imagine, can both help you and hurt you, depending on what direction rates go. With the exception that you cannot defer the election of your pension past age 65 unless you retire past age 65, and they give you a small window of a year to defer the election if you choose to. So oftentimes we want to get our money as soon as possible so we can invest that money, if it's in the case of the lump sum, as soon as possible, or start collecting checks as soon as possible in the instance of the annuity. But there are some circumstances where it would actually be in your best interest to wait to take your pension. And for most people, you can do that.
Alrighty, one more. Is there any likelihood that ExxonMobil might rid the lump sum choice in favor of an annuity-only model in the future?
It's certainly possible. I don't know how likely it is, and I'm not going to comment on what direction the managers at ExxonMobil are looking to go with that. Although I have a client who left, and this is several people have called us, they've done this several times. He left ExxonMobil as a terminee. He was in his early 50s, and then he went to go work for another Fortune 100 company, and just had planned on taking his pension as an annuity at age 65 because that's when it maxed out. Although the company offered him retroactively a lump sum offer to take his pension because, as we can imagine, the company was wanting to get the liability to pay him for the rest of his life and other people off of their books. It's the uncertain liability of life expectancies. Because of this happening in the last few years, my expectation is that ExxonMobil would actually prefer more people take a lump sum rather than take away the option to take a lump sum. But there's also a possibility, if there was funding issues ever in the future, that the company could be forced to remove the full lump sum option as an option to employees because of solvency issues in the plan. Right now, the pension plan is very well funded, but that might not always be the case. And there could be instance where the company is not able to offer a full lump sum, just given laws that impact the company's ability to choose pension options available to their employees. So I'm not going to say that I know for sure that that's a low probability, but I happen to believe it's probably a low probability the lump sum option will be going away anytime soon, but anything can happen.
Alrighty, Tyson, that was all the questions that we have time for today.
Great. Well, thanks, Sam, for helping out. And thank you, everybody, for joining our webinar today. Everybody have a good, safe rest of the week here. And we hope to talk to you all again very soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Tyson.